Okay, thank you. The, it should be noted that the Stooges song came to Life Aquatic because I grew up in Detroit and was a big fan of theirs. And once Wes heard it, was driven to find a spot for it in the movie. That had actually been what we thought was sort of a humorous gunfight with sound effects and everything, with some score by Mark Mothersbaugh. And just late one night, Wes just said, let's try the Stooges song. And there it kind of developed further and further, pulled all the sound out, and it just became what it is. It's one of my favorite little things there. The Rushmore thing was quite different. That was an endless search for the right song and having to deal with Disney about money. And when Wes found that song and liked it, it was an endless battle to get them to spend the money on that song, especially at the time for a movie whose budget was small and whose return was guaranteed to be small as well. They weren't that anxious to spend the money on it. But again, it's a true, all credit goes to Wes for staying true to his vision. It's what he wanted, and oftentimes young filmmakers will be forced to have a song like that in their film. The producers will nix it for money, and oftentimes there's either sort of a knockoff made by the composer or someone, and it greatly compromises it. So at that point, it becomes a search to try to find a song that has perhaps as much energy or as much entertainment value for less money. I'll just finish up, and as I said, most of this stuff, the clips were so long and all that, so that if you guys have questions about it or anything about it, that would be much more enjoyable for me to try to talk about the process in that way, rather than me trying to stand here and explain what went into any given day of cutting those scenes together. So if there's something you want to ask about the process or the directors or about how it works with them, that would be a lot more fun, I hope. Lastly, I would like to point out that even after all these years, I continue to learn new things every day. Not just about editing per se, but from the amazing innovations and advances in post-production, showcased in these 3 huge convention centers. I'm currently working with a young editor on Wanderlust named Rob Nassau. Watching him at work, his prowess on the Avid, his command of it, his speed on the thing, is certainly a look at the future of film editing. His deep understanding of and the ability to implement all that the Avid offers, be it utilizing visual effects to help problem solve or developing keystroke shortcuts that enable even the most fidgety of directors to see something now. And that is a key word that I should stop and mention. Much of film editing is not just about speed, but about creating a comfortable environment. As I said before about failure, the idea is that a director is sitting there, most of the time you're cutting some stuff in and they're extremely agitated about trying to get something to work, and composure and confidence in the process and a familiarity with the footage and certainly being comfortable on the machine. Look, I'm the last guy in the world who should be talking about speed on the Avid. I am not from that school, but in deference to the young editor I'm working with, he is extremely fast on it, and I learn from him every day. It's a great thing to watch. These are people, though, who, I'm not lying, I chat their coffee orders from across the room to each other. So it seems like they could just speak. The director will send you these little notes and say, I just sent you a note, and you're literally, like, here. Just mention the note to me, man, it's fine. There's a line from a James L. Brooks film, I'll Do Anything, that has served to sustain me and help keep me sane all these years. In it, a film producer, played by Albert Brooks, tries to make sense of his crazy life. He utters, "It's only a movie." Wise words indeed. Now, I do not mean to trivialize my profession, but Hollywood is an easy target when talking about inflated egos and those with an exaggerated sense of what they do for a living. However, I do want to point out that movies can serve a higher purpose. Several years ago, my sister lost her husband, a man in his 40s, who left behind a wife and 2 young daughters. It was during that time I was working on P.S. I Love You. Upon seeing it, she told me how much it meant to her personally, how it helped her heal in her grief. My niece was teaching school back in Detroit and showed Freedom Riders to her class of 10th graders. It inspired that class to read the book and then to keep their own journals. I was quite proud of the fact that the film played a part in starting a dialogue between those young people. I've always tried to make myself available to those who are interested in a career in editing or some aspect of filmmaking. I've had film school classes come through my cutting rooms and met with many students. Many of them have remarked to me that they were inspired by the films I did with Wes, which is cool. Lastly, there are those small but wonderful comments that pop up now and then. It may be in a conversation at a party or in a grocery store or golf course, etc., where one of the shows I worked on is mentioned. Hey, I edited that, I'll say. And when I hear, is that so, I really liked that film. Well, I guess that's when I feel like maybe it's just not a movie, but it's a career that one can feel proud of. Mostly, I look forward to talking with you today, and I've really had a good time. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm.